Hi, John. First of all, I would like to thank you for taking out time today for this session. The idea is to basically talk about how the risk landscape for Indian businesses has evolved over the years, given the impact of the economic cycles, the regulatory regimes, and the changes therein, as well as the huge technology shift that we all have witnessed more recently. Now, as we also look at the landscape, it is important to understand and assess how organizations also perceive these risks, how do they prioritize them, and how do they respond to them today. So, given this background, I think my first question to you, John, is from your vantage point, which are the three risks that you believe will most materially impact India Inc.'s performance over the next 2 to 3 years? And which of these have not got adequate board attention as yet?
India companies now are great contributors towards the global economy. So many of the India risks that we're seeing are actually global risks. We keep talking about AI, right? AI, and to me, AI is absolutely the number one agenda item from both a risk and opportunity standpoint. The second risk comes right off of that, and that's AI governance and oversight. It is super critical and super important that the pace of development and execution of AI is matching the related, at a minimum, matching the related pace of the governance and oversight. In fact, I think the governance and oversight should be probably a little bit faster than the development itself to mitigate some of those risks. Because the first bit about the AI development, the third bit also ties into both of those, and that's upskilling our talent. How do we continue to provide the skill sets to this new generation of talent to ensure that the jobs that we're doing, the work that we're doing is continuing to develop AI, but also augmenting it in better ways. So doing different things, reimagining how humans can contribute towards company success.
So when I look at all these three risks holistically, what do you think enterprises should do, Indian or global, to make sure they're able to bridge the gap between how they perceive and how they respond to these risks?
So this is absolutely, the governance and oversight needs to be coming from the top. The tone at the top is so critical. And that includes both the executive, so your CEO and the CEO's executive suite, as well as the board of directors, and ensuring that the proper oversight is there. If without that, nothing's going to happen. So you need to create a single point of accountability. I've talked to a lot of my peers, and that is something that I see lacking in other companies where there's no single point of accountability around the governance.
Now, if you were to advise these Indian enterprises today, what is the one risk capability that you think that they must immediately invest in to stay resilient over the next decade?
Just one.
But you can actually give me more. What do you think is the key focus?
So I think to start with, you need to have someone who is fully adept in the area of AI. So understanding what AI is, and most of us don't, right? It's a very generic term that we use very loosely. So having someone who understands what AI is, but then also someone who's a scholar and understanding what are all the AI regulatory requirements around the world. These are ever developing requirements. Each country is establishing their own frameworks.
How do you think the role of IA has to evolve in these enterprises to make sure that we are also aligned with their objectives and their primary goals?
Internal audit is going to play a very critical role, as I said, in testing that operating effectiveness, identifying potential areas for improvement, and then ensuring that the appropriate parties are building the action plans that are properly addressing those risks, and then following up on the execution of those action plans in a timely manner.
what are the skill sets do you think auditors need today to be able to deliver to those IA plans that we just spoke about?
So another great question. So this is an area that is developing. So when we talked about upskilling talent around building AI and AI governance, that applies to internal audit as well, is making sure that we are upskilling our internal audit talent to be able to test the operating effectiveness of controls around AI governance.
John, my last question would be that what is the advice that you would like to give to your fellow colleagues, other risk leaders across other organizations, in terms of what are the three things that they can do to make sure that they are ready for the risk of tomorrow, as well as making sure they have the right controls and frameworks in place to counter the risk of today?
I think the number one by far is having the seat at the table. We as chief audit executives and chief risk officers need to ensure that we're relevant and that we're sitting with the executives, we're sitting with the board and understanding what is on top of their mind, what are the risks, what is assessing the tone at the top, how seriously are they taking it? Is there a single point of accountability? If there's not, you as the CAE or CRO need to ensure that you drive that. Work with your audit committee chair, work with your CEO to ensure that that there is accountability and that there is enforcement for non-compliance with policies and procedures. Without the seat at the table, you're not able to influence at all the agenda to improve the overall risk management in these particular areas. So that to me is super important. And in addition, as it relates to the CAE's role and communications with the audit committee is don't just make it that once a quarter conversation that you're having with your audit committee chair. Make sure that you have those informal touch points. We do this often at Cognizant, and it's highly effective where we sit down with our chair. In fact, I invite my direct reports to those meetings as well to give different perspectives, hear from him or her, the chair, on what they're seeing, because more likely than not, your audit committee chair is sitting on other audit committees and attending different symposiums and forums around risk management and AI or whatever the fruit of the day might be, and those informal conversations really enable you to customize your approach more real time and not wait for that quarterly meeting to get whether it be positive or negative feedback.